and welcome to Week 13 Boom Bust Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Advice Network and Sellout Crowd. I'm Corey, and I'm joined by my brother Kyle. We're going to break down some booms and busts at each position for your Week 13 fantasy football matchups. Now, what is a boom and what is a bust? It's whether they exceed or fall short of their projected point totals for the week based off of Fantasy Pros full PPR point projections. Let's kick off lucky number 13, Kyle. Let's do this.
Well, our first boom of the week is Corey pointing the correct direction when he pointed at me in the open. Because
Did I not?
With the cameras being flipped. No, that's why you're a boom. You pointed the right way.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
I mess that up all the time. So that's our first boom of the week.
Boom. Nailed it.
All right. Our boom QB of the week, getting down to business, Mr. Sam Howell. They've got him projected 25 of 38. For 265 yards, a touchdown and a half, 17.2 fantasy points. He's playing Miami. So weeks 1 through 3 and week 6 are the only 4 weeks of the year where he threw under 40 passes. Why did they think he would need to throw less than 40 against Miami? This guy's going to come out and throw probably over 50 passes. I think he gets over 300 yards, probably 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think he blows way past this projection against Miami, who, let's be honest, is not the toughest pass defense in the league anyways. There's a lot of potential for points here, and I think Howell has a pretty good day as a result of it.
I agree. Tell me again, what was that total projection for him?
17.2 points.
He did more than that against Dallas.
Exactly. He had 18 against Dallas.
To me, I think that's all you got to say right there. He did better than that against Dallas. So Miami's a way better matchup than that.
Yep.
Yeah. Give me
this is the easiest boom of the week for me. Like this is a no-brainer boom for me.
Yeah, and somehow we'll be able to get some done on the ground there too, I believe. So there's just even more easy points right there for him. So
yeah, exactly.
Love it. All right, who's your bust?
Oh, my bust, Mr. Jared Goff. I've had him as my boom a few times this year, but this week, he is my bust, playing at New Orleans. We already know the stories of the fables of Jared Goff on the road, right? He already doesn't do good. But when you factor in the fact that they're playing a very good New Orleans defense, he's going to struggle. He's projected 23 of 35, 260 yards, touchdown and a half, 17 points, fantasy points overall. I don't think he gets that high. I think he's somewhere maybe in that 12 to 15 range. He'll definitely shoot under, I think, and get maybe a single touchdown on the touchdown department, maybe around 200 yards. So he's struggled the last 2 weeks against Chicago and Green Bay.
Yep.
New Orleans is a much more difficult defense. So, I think I'm looking for other options this week.
And you've kind of already mentioned it, but that Chicago and Green Bay game, those were at home too, right? This one's on the road, and we all kind of know how Jared Goff is, that home and away performance, so being away. And then going back, Desmond Ridder played against New Orleans this week. And I know Desmond Ridder is no Jared Goff, but he only had 13.72 points against them. I mean, that New Orleans defense is stout.
Yeah, very stout.
So, I'm not trusted. Jared Goff against that stout defense on the road. And New Orleans, not going to be very happy about their loss this last week to Atlanta. So I think they're going to come in pretty fired up.
I agree with that.
All right, let's move on to some running backs then.
All right, man. So my running back boom is Mr. Jaylen Warren. All right. He's already been super explosive, been playing really good, having some big games. This week they get Arizona. Did you see what Kyren Williams just did to Arizona? All right, Kyren had 143 yards rushing, 61 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. I think Jaylen can easily match or exceed that this week. I am super excited. They got him projected 11 carries, 52 yards, 3 receptions, 20 yards, half a touchdown. I think that's absurd. I think he blows past 100 yards receiving. I think he'll push for 100 rushing, and I think he gets an end zone at least once. I'm excited to have Jaylen Warren in my lineup this week, and we were actually talking about him on a stream earlier this week as well. I would start him over someone like Gibbs this week, who's playing against New Orleans at home. Like we just got done talking about Goff. Like it's a tough rush defense. I would think about starting him over somebody like that with this matchup.
I agree. Kyren Williams just had that week against him, right? He just had that game. Both of his touchdowns came through the air. Like you mentioned, 6 for 6, 61 yards for 2 touchdowns. Jaylen Warren, a receiving back. So I'm liking Jaylen Warren getting some catches this week, seeing those opportunities. I don't know if he also gets 100 yards rushing, but I think through the air he gets quite a bit, like you said. And there's going to be touchdown opportunities there for Jaylen Warren, who has looked super explosive in this offense.
Yeah, with Matt Canada gone, this offense has a whole new breath. And Jaylen Warren's going to be the beneficiary of that, especially this week.
Yep. Love it. All righty, let's move on to your bus running back then.
Oh, my bus running back, Mr. DeAndre Swift.
You like saying it. Don't act disappointed.
I love saying it because I'm a Cowboys fan. But, he's been pretty good this year. Although lately, those receptions are starting to dwindle a bit. And they're going in against one of the top rush defenses in the league against San Francisco this week. He's projected 15 carries, 62 yards, 3 receptions for 20 yards, half a touchdown. I don't think he scores. He'll have a couple. 3 catches for 20 yards, I think, is high. He might get a catch or 2. I don't think he gets to 50 yards rushing. I don't think he gets in double-digit points this week.
No, I agree. I think he gets closer to what he did against Dallas, right? He got almost 9.5 points against Dallas, and Dallas's run defense isn't as stout as San Francisco's. No. So if he didn't even reach double-digit scoring there or against Buffalo, I don't see him doing it here either. And also that Buffalo had bad weather, so the running game should have been more involved. He should have had more opportunity.
You would think so, yeah.
And he still didn't reach double-digit scoring. I don't see him doing it against San Francisco.
No.
At all. So, alrighty, guys. Want to take a second to invite you over to fantasyfootballadvice.com and join the social media network 100% dedicated to fantasy football. You can give advice, get advice, read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts, all that fun stuff. Just build a community and have a good time. It is only fantasy football. Forget about all that other stuff, the distractions, the stuff that irritates you while you're on other social media platforms. We know what you love and what you want, and it's fantasy football. So fantasyfootballadvice.com. Go have some fun. All right, Kyle, let's move on to some wide receivers.
I mean, my wide receiver boom of the week is Mr. Courtland Sutton. He has been so consistent for Russell Wilson and these Broncos this year. Had a rough game last week against Cleveland, of course. Cleveland's playing really, really good defense this year. We knew he would struggle. They're getting projected this week. 4 catches, 55 yards, 0.3 touchdowns. I think he has a more likely chance than not of getting back in the end zone this week after missing it last week against Cleveland. He actually had more yards last week against Cleveland, 61, than they're projecting him this week against Houston in what could be a bit of a shootout. If Russell's on his game, it could be a shootout. If Russell's not on his game, it could be a blowout. But there's going to be a lot of passing. They're going to have to keep up on the scoreboard with Houston. And I think Courtland Sutton is the beneficiary of that, and I'm loving him this week.
Right now, I'm that meme that's like all the calculations floating out in this guy out here of like, how are they projecting him that way? It doesn't make any sense against Houston. No. Yes, he struggled last week against Cleveland, a great defense there. But by struggled, we mean he still got 9 points, right? Like a struggle for a lot of other wide receivers, like, oh, they only got 2 to 5 points and stuff. He still did his part. He just didn't score a touchdown like he typically does because he's been scoring touchdowns like crazy. We've kind of become spoiled. But he's obviously the number 1 wide receiver in that offense right now. And, I mean, Javonte Williams, is he hurt or is he going to be back? I don't know. Either way, Courtland Sutton is the go-to guy in that offense for Russell Wilson. And, yeah, I think against Houston in a shootout potential game, yeah, I'm trusting him there. 0.3 touchdowns. Nah. Nah.
Yeah.
Give me more. Give me the over.
Give me the over on that all day.
No doubt. Alrighty, give me your bust.
All right, my bust, and I went a little bit back and forth on this one. One of the Puka Nacua for the Rams. I was torn on whether to go with him or Cooper Kupp, but Cooper Kupp had a couple of decent games when he came back, and he really hadn't done anything of note since. Puka's been outperforming. So, for all intents and purposes, this applies to both. But I picked Nacua because he is basically the wide receiver one there right now, the way they're performing. But they play Cleveland this week, and we just got done talking about how Sutton struggled against Cleveland. Cleveland's playing very good defense against quarterbacks. They're like the top defense in the league against wide receivers. I think Kupp, Nacua both are going to struggle against Cleveland. If you have other options, please start them. Don't get too cute, obviously. But, he's projected 5 catches for 64 yards, 0.3 TDs. I don't think he scores. And, again, I think he'll be lucky if he gets to 50 yards. His best shot at scoring points is just going to be pure volume of catching passes. So for that alone, I think he could get to 10 or 11 points, but I wouldn't expect a big game out of him this week.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. His points come from volume, right? But in the last 4 games, he's just not getting a lot of catches anymore. Whereas when Cooper Kupp was out, he was getting double-digit targets. He's just not getting that anymore. There's not enough to go around. Cleveland's pass defense is really good. Their run defense is fine, but it's not near as good. We mentioned Kyren Williams earlier. I think they lean heavy on him again. I think Kyren Williams gets leaned on a lot here, and so I don't feel like they're going to be throwing near as much. That pass offense is struggling quite a bit. Even Cooper Kupp isn't the Cooper Kupp of pass, that we're used to scoring big points. He's now also splitting with Nacua. So, yeah, I'm not really trusting that pass offense this week against Cleveland. Give me Kyren, if anybody, in that offense. I take that back. Give me Kyren in that offense.
Yeah.
He's the only one I really want this week.
Yeah, 100%.
Alrighty, let's move on to your tight ends.
Yeah, so this guy was my bust tight end last week, and I was way off the mark.
Swing and miss.
Yeah, this week he is my boom, Mr. Pat Freiermuth. He is back. They got a new offensive coordinator that obviously wants him involved. And this dude's a stud. He had 11 targets last week. Like, that's absurd. I think it was 9 catches for 120 yards.
Yep.
Just off the top of my head. So they're playing Arizona this week, which is a fantastic matchup. They are projected 4 catches for 36 yards, 0.3 touchdowns. Seriously? Give me the over on that all day. I think he'll push probably for 100 yards again. I think he gets in the end zone this week. He didn't get there last week. I think he gets there, projected 8.8 points. He'll hit double digits and beyond, I think, pretty easily again this week. They definitely want him involved. I don't see the role from last week, the target share. I don't see that changing.
My only devil's advocate is that I could see maybe they think they're going to be running the ball a lot against them, like we talked about earlier. But let's bring this full circle and talk. We talked about Kyren Williams' day that he had against Arizona last week. Shall we talk about Tyler Higbee's day?
Yeah.
Tyler Higbee is nothing near what Pat Freiermuth is. But
not even
Tyler
close.
Higbee was 5 for 5, 29 yards, and two touchdowns.
2 touchdowns, yep.
Kyren Williams also had 2 touchdowns. So plenty of touchdowns to go around on this Arizona defense for the running back and the tight end. So Pat Freiermuth, have yourself a day. That's all I got to say about that. Let's move on to your bust.
And welcome back, Pat.
Welcome back.
Now, on the flip side of that, my bust tight end is on the other team, Trey McBride. He's been playing super well lately, but Pittsburgh is really tough against tight ends, and I don't see him having a very good game this week. I think this will be more of a Hollywood Brown week in the receiving core versus Trey McBride. And, Kyler doing his thing, but maybe they try to get James Conner going a little bit more too. But I do think Trey McBride is going to struggle quite a bit this week. They got him projected 5 catches for 50 yards, 0.2 TDs, 11.1 points. I don't think he gets to double digits.
Yeah, that's pretty hopeful thinking against this Pittsburgh defense, I feel like. Yeah. But understandable considering his output that he's had. Granted, he didn't reach double-digit scoring against Houston or Cleveland. I don't know. I just feel like you're right. I don't feel like this is Trey McBride's week against that Pittsburgh defense. That's just stout. It's stout. And so I do kind of like that Kyler, Marquise Brown connection there a little bit more. I think Connor still might also struggle a little bit. I'm not loving the matchup for him. So that interior play isn't going to be super great, I feel like. So I'm avoiding it if I can, which is super disappointing because McBride's been a great play for you lately. If he's on your team, he was a good pickup, great play. This week, hard to lean on.
Yep, 100%.
Alrighty. So that does it for all our booms and busts for week 13. But now let's kind of switch gears a little bit and let's go with a streamer kicker and a streamer defense that you can pick up and play on your team this week to help you win. Kyle, let's go ahead and talk about your streamer kicker of the week.
Yeah, streamer kicker of the week, Chase McLaughlin for Tampa Bay. They haven't had a ton of easy matchups, which have been, but this week they get to play Carolina. I think they could put up a lot of points. Yeah, I think they could put up a lot of points. I think McLaughlin gets a lot of play this week, and he's available almost everywhere. There's a lot of buys this week. If you need a kicker, you could do worse.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. They've played some tough defenses. They've had a tough run at it. Looking back on their schedule, last time they played a team where they might be able to put up some points was against Houston in week 9. And McLaughlin scored 16 fantasy points that week. So, yeah, you're right. They finally get a little bit easier defense to play against. So scoring opportunities, being in scoring position is what you want for your kicker. And this week, he finally gets that opportunity again.
He finally fits the bill.
Man, about time. They've had a tough stretch.
Get those cannons ready in Tampa.
Exactly. Oh, I hope so. Let's go, Baker. All right. Give us your streamer defense of the week.
Yeah, streamer defense of the week is the Los Angeles, wait for it, Chargers. 2 Los Angeles teams is a little confusing.
It is.
But, yeah, man, the Chargers, listen, they're available almost everywhere. They've not been great as on the season as a whole, but when you look back, they have done good in good matchups. This week they play New England. That fits the bill. So if you have a good – I mean, when you look at the teams on a bye this week, Buffalo, Vegas has been playing good defense, Baltimore. You got some defenses on – and other defenses that maybe aren't on a bye but have a tougher matchup or whatever. This is a nice team to pick up and use with a really, really good matchup against New England.
I agree. They've proven that they can put up fantasy points in a good matchup.
Yep.
So, and it depends on how your scoring is. But they've put up good scoring when they play a team with a not so good quarterback per se. Mm-hmm. So, like if they're playing against, I don't know, the Jets in a specific league I'm looking at now, they have 30 points. So they've proven that if you're playing against a team with a lackluster quarterback, well, and we all know Mac Jones, or whoever plays at quarterback for New England this week, is going to be lackluster. So you're right. I like the Chargers against the lackluster quarterback. They've proven that they'll put up points in those situations. The other one being Las Vegas. So very lackluster quarterback play.
Yeah, exactly.
Just throwing that out there. So, all right, that's all we got for this week with our booms, our busts, and our streamers for Week 13 to help you win the week. One last time, I'm going to invite you over to fantasyfootballadvice.com, social media network, 100% dedicated to fantasy football. Forget all that other distracting stuff that just makes you mad or annoyed. Come over here, give advice, get advice, help win your week, every week, win that championship, and just have fun and build a community. That's going to do it for us this week, guys. We really appreciate you joining us on Boom Bust with Fantasy Football Advice Network and Sellout Crowd. And until next week, we'll see you.
Good luck.